Good afternoon, friends. Welcome back to the channel. It's a beautiful day here on the homestead. Now, this is the third take for this video, and I apologize if I do it again, getting off on a tangent, and I get to the end of the video, and what I say now doesn't make sense later. But I've got a lot to talk about, and I want to kind of tie it all in together here in this video. This is kind of a part 2 or a recap video from one that I made back in the beginning of CV19, maybe at the beginning of last year, maybe the middle of it. I don't remember when it was. But if you guys have been following my channel for any amount of time, you know that I am on a path to become more self-reliant, increasingly self-sufficient. Self-sufficiency is not necessarily possible in this modern day and age, 100%. There's just absolutely no way. But you guys know that we bought land, we bought acreage, and we built a beautiful house. Since the beginning of the year, I built a chicken coop. I have 11 chickens and 2 ducks. Inside my house right now in the brooder, I have 15 Cornish hens. They're about 3 weeks out from being harvested, and that will be meat in the freezer. My chickens and ducks in the coop right now are egg layers. Well, minus the 2 roosters. But those are very important to my flock, I believe, as they can fertilize the eggs, and I can incubate the eggs and create more chicks for my flock. Now, like I said, if you've been following the channel for any amount of time, I have a desire to become more self-reliant and more self-sufficient, meaning that I want to be able to grow my own food, my own garden, can my own food here, raise my own chickens, sheep, goats, 20, 30 head of cattle maybe, amongst whatever else I desire to bring on the property. I've got plenty of land and plenty of time. I don't want to make it a big time operation with just one man, but like I said, I want to become increasingly more self-reliant. So my daily chores will grow, but so will my food supply. Now, there's been several people on YouTube who are YouTubers, some of my favorite YouTubers, talking about this recently. They're survivalists, they're preppers, and they're talking about how volatile the food chain and the food supply in our country is. There's a saying out there that says the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The second best time to plant a tree is today. Ironically, that's what I'm going to be doing today, is planting some more trees. Because in 20 years, I want to have nice fruit-bearing trees that will aid in my food supply. But how easy is it for our food chain to be broken? With CD19, guys, we experienced all sorts of weird things that I never thought we'd experience so fast. In a long amount of time, maybe it could happen. But so quickly, things happened. Now, I've spoken about this before. I live in a rural community. At minimum, I'm an hour and 15 minutes away from a Walmart. A lot of people don't believe that, but I am. So an hour and 15 minutes away from Walmart, which means that's along a larger path for a larger distribution of food and goods. I enjoy not being next to a Walmart because, well, the metropolitan area or that kind of life with a larger town, you don't have what I have here. I have a sense of community where I'll help you, you'll help me, and we don't even ask questions. We don't ask for money to do so. So we're an hour and 15 minutes, going slow, it could be an hour and a half really, from a Walmart, which means we do have a local grocery store. Our local grocer has an increased cost to bring food in. That's just part of how it works. Because they're not a large chain, it does cost them a little bit more to bring goods in, and in turn, it costs the consumer a little bit more money to buy goods locally than it would to travel to a Walmart to buy the same goods at a cheaper price. Upside is I don't have to leave town. I don't have to drive an hour and a half to go to Walmart to get milk. Downside is I can go 15 minutes to get milk, but it's going to cost 50 cents or maybe even $1 more per gallon. But we turn back to, I have a grocery store locally. I know places that don't have food for 2 or 3 hours away. And so their monthly haul is a longer trip to try to get enough food for the month. I believe it happens. But in the last year, we have seen across the board an increase of cost for everything. Whether it be food, dry goods, stationary goods, lumber at an all-time high. What I think the report was 800% increase of lumber. And then my local supplier was told by his supplier that there's going to be a 40% decrease in lumber very shortly. So I really hope so, because man, a 2x4 that's $12, $13 a piece is sickening. But let's go back to the point of this video is how easily our food chain could be the same. It could be broken. We could go to the store and there not be any tomatoes on the shelf. We could go to the store and not have any potatoes. Now, you might go to the store and see potatoes for, say, $2 for a 10-pound bag. Great. You could get some seedlings, some potatoes that are sprouting, put them in the ground, and wait all summer. Wait for those potatoes to grow, and not have to pay for them, right? Well, that's what I did. I had a bunch of potatoes that sprouted, put them in the ground. They were looking great until Mother Nature took over. Yep, I looked at them last night. Every single one of my potato stalks, or what's above ground, all chewed up. Beetles got to them. Now, my food supply for potatoes has been cut into. And while I could go and plant more potatoes from seed or from potatoes that have eyes on them, now I have to go, and my supply chain here, my homestead is broken, and now I'll have to go to town to buy potatoes because my farm fresh potatoes have been taken over by beetles. How easy that was. I could have sprayed. I should have sprayed, because this is not going to be some non-GMO, not herbicide-free facility like all these weird people are thinking about today. Because all the semantics, all the vocabulary around this non-GMO, no BTH, all the big words they put on labels. If you actually research what they meant, you're just fooling yourself to believe that is what it is. So, like I said, how volatile is your food chain from being destroyed very quickly? Like I said, with the global economy, with CD19, with the the national economy, we have a decrease of truck drivers. Now it takes maybe twice as long for food to travel from California to the Midwest. Maybe there's a 20% increase. Maybe there's a 30% increase. Like I said, I could go to Walmart and I could buy milk at 50 cents to $1 cheaper. I'm going to spend $5 or $6 on fuel to get there. But I could go locally, support the local guy, and spend a little bit more per gallon of milk. How volatile our food chain is. Here's my corn crop. Now this is only 4 rows. I planted 100 kernels. There's 25 per row. 2 weeks ago, we had a 1% chance of rain where I live. I left for the day. I mean, in the end of this, there would have been absolutely nothing I could do. But story time is, I left for the afternoon. I traveled 3 hours. We had a 1% chance of rain across the entire state. 12 hours later, I'm headed home. My wife calls me and said it's sprinkling. 15 minutes later, she calls me and said the rain was coming in the front door. So I hadn't looked at the radar because we only had a 1% chance of rain. So I looked at the radar, and over about 65% of the state of Kansas was a red, nasty storm. Nasty, nasty storm. That storm brought 80-mile-an-hour straight line winds, guys. I didn't care about my property, my house being destroyed, my possessions being destroyed. I cared about my wife and my child being safe, right? They were safe. Everything on the property was safe except for a 1,000-gallon stock tank that blew 1,050 feet from that side of the property over there. 1,000 feet. It flew in the air. 80-mile-an-hour straight line winds. Came out here the next day. My corn crop, my sweet corn here, completely laid over, flat to the ground. Now, that didn't devastate me, but it was a potential delay in my food chain locally. Mother Nature had revenge. Mother Nature said it right. I'm telling you what, guys, I promise you, these corn stalks were completely flat on the ground. 3 days later, Mother Nature set them upright, and now they're leaning towards the sky, growing. Had that been a local farmer with, say, 100, 200, 300 acres of corn, field corn planted, that storm wipes that corn out. I've seen it a million times. Well, that corn's not going to be growing now to feed the cattle and the livestock that feed you and I. There's a delay in the food chain right there. There's an increase of cost at market to sell that cattle. They're going to take a cut, but then they're going to go to the market and they're going to, slaughter that animal because they can't be fed, and there's going to be an increased cost for you, just because of Mother Nature. So, there's been several people on YouTube that talked about today is the time to think about your food chain, your food supply. You need to double your food supply. What you have in your pantry, if you have 2 weeks supply, double it. Get a month's supply. If you have 6 months supply, get a year's supply. I'm telling you guys, what we've experienced with CV19, whether it be man-made or not, that's a wake-up call. What we've experienced in the last, 15, 16 months with CV19, whether it be political, man-made, nature-made, we are at the hands of those above us. I'm not talking about God. I'm talking about the government. And not a conspiracy. It has literally been said time and time before. Those who control the food control the people. Look at Venezuela. Look at all these communist countries. The dog just ran through here. Sorry about ADD, but he's like barreling through. But look at these countries that are at the mercy of the hands of the people above them. You control the food, you control the people. So, it's not too late to plant a garden, guys. You can have a beautiful late summer crop, an early fall crop. Grow your own food. Even if you live in an apartment, guys. I lived in a 800 square foot apartment. My wife and I did when we first married. 800 square foot apartment with the single car garage. 800 square foot total. I grew food. I had okra, cucumbers, tomatoes, potatoes, peppers galore. I had 8 5-gallon buckets. Yep, 8 5-gallon buckets, and I grew enough food to literally just toss it on the table in the summertime. You know, in summertime, I canned food like crazy out of 8 5-gallon buckets. That was 9 years ago. Is that right? 8 years ago I was doing that. I've been doing this much longer. I've been doing this since I was, you know, young teenager. Your food chain can be broken fairly quickly, whether it be man-made, nature-made, pandemic-induced, or whatever it be. So start thinking about it. The best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The second best time is today. Like I said, I'm going to be doing that this afternoon. So keep calm and carry on, guys. Stay safe. And if you're in the Pacific Northwest, get a cool spot and chill out for a couple of days. Take a couple of days off work. I mean, we get hot here. We get humid here. But you guys aren't made for it. Stay cool, guys. See you later.